Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. And in today's video, we are going to cover some amazing updates for the Obelisk AI project, specifically focusing on the obelisk-core repository, which is our open source initiative. And recently, we added an amazing visual workflow editor similar to ComfyUI, which we will explain all about in this video. So whether you're a developer, whether you're a trader, whether you're just curious about I think this is an amazing project for you guys to check out and get involved with because you don't need to be a coder to create your own AI agent. So we've done quite a bit of updates since our last video, which was only 2 days ago, but we've been cooking hard. So first, let me show you guys. Previously, we had a very basic agent that we had like this, and you could interact with it. You could say hello, and it would simply talk and respond. Um, a very basic agent with memory and context. So we showed you guys how it works. And yeah, in this video, we're going to be introducing some amazing new updates, specifically the visual editor here, which you can see is a very simple 4-node agent. Some of these are going to change quite a bit. I think the sampler node will be changed to inference, but regardless, we'll go over what this all means and where it comes from in just a minute. Follow us on X if you guys want to stay up to date with all the latest development. This is an AI project, so things are moving super fast. Every day, every couple of days, we're moving, doing something new. We're upgrading, we're making new code, we're pushing new PRs, and we're invite you guys to collaborate. And if you are a developer, we're more than welcome you to help us work on the UI. If you'd like to work on the UI, if you'd like to contribute to a nice open source AI research project, even to help your own GitHub repo and your GitHub profile, please check it out. From the previous update, let me just go into a code here. So previously we had a very simple execution flow. What happened was everything was in the SRC folder, and this is where the main backend lives, and it still lives there. So you had two entry points, CLI and API. One entry point was in main, another one was a server or in routes. And the entry point will just take the user's response. It will run the memory manager to get the context. Then it would pass it to the LLM to actually do the inference, and then it would spit it back up to the CLI or respond as a response in the API. Very simple architecture. You can think of it in a sort of most basic way is a 4-node architecture. You have the LLM module right here, which is essentially the model loader and the sampler combined. And then you have the input and output, which is just the user's input and then the API output. So this one does not have memory included. So the most basic agent you can build is a 4-node agent. It's going to probably expand later. We're going to have a system prompt that the model loader can get so that each agent you can see that what kind of system prompt it has. So what are its responsibilities? And if you want to add, we do have some memory later. We'll talk about this in a bit. So anyway, the previous architecture was pretty simple, and what we have added, as you can see here, if you noticed, is the core and the execution engine. Let me explain a little bit more about this. So the core, we have a container now. Instead of having the data kind of be passed around and each instance having to make its own instance of everything, the LLM, the model, the memories, instead we decided to kind of abstract everything into nodes and containers. So everything starts with the main service container here, which is the data class, a container that holds all the core services for obelisk core. This one will have the LLM, the memory, and a couple other services. Right now, it just has two. Think of it as the execution environment. The environment includes the models, the memory architectures, and anything else you might need. In the future, it might also include like API tokens, for example, for Telegram integration, or bot tokens if you want to launch it as a Telegram bot. That would be one of the first real use cases of this. So this is the service container. It is part of the core infrastructure, a part of the core layer, but inside of it, we also have the execution engine. This is similar to ComfyUI. It is heavily inspired by ComfyUI and essentially combines everything into nodes, and it is going to run the node. So we are still working through exactly the detailed architecture for this. We are following closely to how ComfyUI is doing it. It is an open source project. ComfyUI is focused on doing a direct acyclic graph. Let's see if I have here. All right. So cycles. So right now we're not doing any autonomy. So we're checking for a simple DAG. So here we have like a graph where you have inputs and you have an output, right? So it is just essentially checking. It's the engine that will run these agents. But now we're starting super simple with just a simple four-node agent. So it's going to be a simple DAG. But when you add autonomy, think of, let's say you add if you want to add, this is a text node, but if this was to be a scheduler node, let's say that fires every 20 seconds, for example, then you could hook it up this way, where you can have the scheduler node will fire some event, which will trigger this prompt, and the prompt will trigger the inference, which will trigger another prompt, and maybe that prompt will feed right back into the scheduler node, into the scheduler loop to, let's say, this is very confusing here, guys, but it will essentially feed back into the schedule loop to maybe affect how it is evaluating a condition. So this is going to be the next layer. This is something that ComfyUI does not have, but we're starting super simple for now. And all right, let me disconnect this. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. And just as a reference, we're using the same. So ComfyUI uses LightGraph as their JavaScript architecture. LightGraph is the library that allows you to do this drag and drop connections. It gives you access to these abstract nodes that you can modify. And it's a really nice UI, especially for designing systems with a visual help. So it is meant for AI video generation. Let me give you guys a brief overview of ComfyUI. If you guys have seen our Voidstone project, we've done a lot of work with ComfyUI specifically for doing video generation and text to video, video to video, and all these animal dancing videos. So we're very familiar with ComfyUI, and you can see these are some more complex workflows. It usually takes an image, it combines an image, and it spits it out. So when it comes to video and image generation, it is a very simple procedure in the sense that you have an input and you have an output. So data pipeline is always simple. But when it comes to AI agents, it's going to be a tiny bit more complex. So our evaluation and our engine logic will have to get a little bit more work done on it. But I think the idea is you only need to abstract it a tiny bit to add some autonomy, and at that point you'll have enough puzzle pieces to create tons of variations, tons of unique use cases. We're thinking first one would be even a simple Telegram bot. You can hook up the output to, instead of be a text node, to have an output to a Telegram bot with some configuration like a channel, a message, maybe an image, and you can easily deploy that. This is our next vision. So this is just the actual engine here. It's relatively simple. When it comes to the nodes, we do have some custom nodes. Specifically, we have the input prompt node and the output text node, which we already combined into a single text node. So here's an example of a node. It inherits from base node. And base node has a couple of functions. You don't need to use all of them, but the main one is definitely we have init, where it initializes the node with some data. And then we also have the execute function, which executes the function of the node. You can think of each node as almost a function that executes, but not necessarily. Right, and we have the input and the output is the same as the text node, and then the model loader node, right now it's just a placeholder because we only use the same Qwen3b model, but as you can see here, so that's why we have auto load to true, but you could select any model path, and we can easily support multiple models, and it would work in the same way as ComfyUI. So for the model loader, maybe you might have some sort of adapter, because the adapter means it would abstract away to the logic inside the LLM. For example, we refactored this function. Well, now see it has a separate load model, but this model has some specific ways to call it and specific ways of loading it that's tailored towards Qwen3. If you would like to load a different model completely with different architecture, some things are going to change, but everything is going to be relatively the same, especially the validate functions, the parsing functions, and um, some of the memory context layer, for example. This is the best part about it does make sense to use this same node-based architecture to design AI LLM agents because you're still working with a model and you're loading it and you can adapt the memory layer. So the memory, we have a memory adapter as well. This one, we have tested it, but right now it's still in working. So we're not gonna actually do the demo here. But for the memory adapter, it work simply. There's a couple of ways to wire it up. The simplest way would be so you get the contacts, you connect it. This is the context that it would get with the user query. But the actual query, I think it should go through the memory adapter, because the way it really works is once the user submits his query, it goes to the memory and it selects a relevant memory, which then feeds into the context. And also at the end, right after the AI gets the response, technically it should go back into the memory. But because the memory, it's a memory adapter, there's already logic in the sampler to handle the memory context creation at the end at the response. So there's a couple of little nuances here, but it makes it a lot easier to reason about your agent and abstract things away because you can see everything laid out. And later on, you can take this whole agent and collapse it into a single. You can collapse it into a single node and wire it up as part of your autonomous loop. So again, this project, we're still super early. We just now got some basic UI working with basic nodes, and you can actually execute the prompt. I think right now it's not going to execute it with the memory. So if you wanted to, you can type something here like "Hello world," or "How are you doing?" You type it in, and then if you want to execute, you just cue the prompt. What is happening is going to serialize this into a JSON file, and it's going to run this workflow through the engine, through our backend engine, and it's going to give you an output. As you can see, it still needs a little bit of TLC, so we need to add some new lines and a couple of formatting. So this is great work. If anybody wants to help out on the UI side, this is all going to be in the UI folder. So we separated the code nice and easy for you guys. If anybody wants to contribute and you don't want to mess with the backend engine, you can easily work on the UI and do some simple contribution because the UI is just a normal React Next.js app made for Cloudflare workers, but with a Wrangler file you can deploy, which is super easy. And yeah, if you guys want to work in the UI, there's still a couple of details that we would like to iron out. But other than that, the next step for this one is going to be adding autonomous nodes and trying to do some autonomous actions. And then finally, a deploy function. And this would be really cool. A deploy layer where how do we take our whole system and package it nicely, maybe into a Docker container and deploy it to a VPS. Let's say we have a VPS and we will be able to host X amount of agents for free. So this is the next step for our project. And let me guys, towards the end of this video, just brief overview of the marketplace. So we did list an NFT yesterday and it got snagged up really quickly for 0.0025 ETH. Number 99 here. We had one of our members buy it super quick within a couple of minutes. So if you guys want to stay in the loop, make sure to join our Telegram channel. You guys, make sure to check out our NFTs. The price is currently, you can snag one up for a relatively low price. You can get one for 0.01 ETH, which is pretty low. And when these NFTs do go live, when the token launch goes live, the energy token, it's going to earn reflections in both energy and ETH. And energy is going to be the official token for our agents, and you guys will all be able to deploy it and use it. And we're really excited to get this project going. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for checking out this video. Please follow us on X and like and comment on this video if you have any questions. And keep it skivity. Peace.